Hey JRs, hey Tabby, hey Simi, hey CYNT, hey Tammy, Lonnie, and Susie, Little Lady Di. Hi Mother Mary, Patty and Jack, Candace, hi Jen Jens, hey Linda, hey Judy, hey Little Dove, hi Flower Girl, Janice. Okay, so I'm going to just go into the case as soon as a few more people get here. Carolyn, hey Debbie, and Nancy, what did I miss here? When I go into it, I'm not going to answer any questions when I'm going into it because I'm going to try to keep it more like a premiere. And then I'll go into another live to answer questions. And that way we can to see if this works out until my kids get back to school. Hi Marigold, hi Evie, hi Linda, hi Pet Nanny, hi Leah, hey Sandy, hi Ann, hey Jessica, hey Joe, hi Miss Mary, hi Muka, hi Maribel, hi L Jackson. Okay, that sounds great. Okay, so I'm not ignoring you. If you're asking questions, I will answer any questions. You can write them down, get a pad of paper and write them down. But this is just, so in case some of you weren't with us I think it was last week when I went into this case just a little bit, there's so much involved in this case, and they're sending me also all of the files, all of the video, all of the audio, and there is so much. I mean, there's stuff I just learned today in it. It's a really interesting case to study, and everybody said, oh, take a deep dive in it, so I'm taking a deep dive in it. Hi Ariel Mama, hi Carrie Lynn, hi Linda, hi Earthbound Spirit. So today we're going to go over like the summary, like the background of the case, then we'll go over the his arrest and the prosecution and the defense opening arguments, the 911 call. I'll go over so you'll have the majority of it. Then probably the next time we go on Amato, we'll do, like the interrogation, and then there's so much to go through. The trial, all kinds of things. The witnesses, his brothers, but this is going to give you a good background if you've never heard this. This happened in 2018. Well, he was arrested. Let me see here. Was it 2018? I was January, so 2018 is when he was arrested. It's fairly recent. I mean, he's already been to trial. So January 25th is when the 24th or 25th. They don't have an exact timeline for the murders. I want to make sure I have all of my notes here. You're still watching Rosenbaum? Oh, okay. Okay. I'm so cool, CYNC, because it's to look at true crime. So excited because I didn't cover the trial. I was focused on Rosenbaum. It is really interesting, and I just found out something really interesting today, which I'll tell you. I didn't know that. Hello, Hennessy. Hi, Mystery Truth Seeker. I just want to make sure. I just have to check on, make sure I have everything. I tried to put everything in order so it'll all has its own page. Let me see. I had to tell Jimmy to lower the TV. Okay. So yeah, his interview, he never confesses in it at all. It's pretty interesting to watch that. But I'll go over the tape once they send me all the files and stuff, and then I can upload it. You can see it, and I'll go through it. There's a lot of stuff in this case. Okay, I'm going to come. I just want to make sure that I have my stuff here. All right, so I guess we'll start with that. Okay. Where's my call? I'm going to come right back now. Hang on. See who's here now. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Bergstrong. Okay. Hey, Joan. Tracy. What I'm going to do is, for those of you, Christian, Sandy, Victoria, new series released ID. Okay, I'll talk about all that. But what I'm going to do is, hey, Janelle, Jill, Julie T, hi. To Scooter, hi. Tamlin, hello. Tracy. Okay, and if I missed you, I see you too, but we have enough here to start now. So if you weren't here last night, if you weren't here last week, we're going to do the Amato case, take a deep dive into it. There's a lot of a lot of stuff on it. I have a lot of discovery coming, and it's just a really interesting case to cover. So if you want to study or profile, get better at profiling, this is a really good case to study. So everybody say, go ahead, do it. And I went over some background, like in a live, but I want to do it again and then go into the opening statements of the defense and the prosecution and also the 911 call, show you some things, the house and everything, and go over some key points of the case. And then I'm not going to respond to the chat. So I'm going to kind of be like doing a premiere but live, and we'll see how it works just until the kids get back to school. Then we'll stop this. And I'll go into another live and I can answer any of your questions. So if you have questions, just write them down. Hi, Jeannie. All right. So let me get all of my stuff. This is Grant's Amato case, okay? Out in Florida. He was born in 1989. And he was just found guilty of murdering his mother, his father, and his brother. Okay. They lived in Chiliota, Florida. Let me get my picture. Sorry, let me just go to my page here before I start here, so I can put your pictures up. I think we'll start with. Let's go with that one. Hopefully that'll go up on there. I don't know what. Hold on, my pictures are not going over to the other side. Why is that? Can I drag this whole thing over? Hang on, let me try to open it with something else. Just open the picture. Okay, now I think it'll work. Hang on. All right, so that's their house. think maybe, let me go here. Just wondering if you start with a number. No. I can't. Okay, so a little background on the parents. His mother was a lovely woman named Margaret Amato. She was known for two things: loving her family and having a really soft spot in her heart for horses that were being neglected. So where they lived, you see there, it's kind of rural for Florida, right? There were stables nearby, and this retired racehorse used to keep coming into her yard. So she eventually adopted and boarded the horse, and she worked tirelessly to rehabilitate it, even though she was like thrown off several times while training Lady. That was the horse's name. She would never give up on Lady. And even after Lady died, she would go back to the stables where she boarded the horse and just come to brush the other horses and help take care of them. So in that time, she became friendly with the barn owner, who was Sherry Brabenek. And in January, she mentioned to Brabenek's husband that the past few months had been some of the most difficult of her life. She said her youngest son, Grant, had stolen a lot of money. And days later, Margaret, 61, her husband, Chad, 59, and their son, who was the middle child, Cody, 31, were found shot in the head inside this house when a welfare check was called in. Okay, so let's listen to the 911 call for the welfare check. Just get that on for you. Hold on. Now, the welfare check is called in by a co-worker of Cody because he didn't show up at work. So Cody's co-workers at Orlando Regional Medical Center knew something was wrong when he did not show up to work on Friday morning, because it wasn't like the 31-year-old Cody, who is a certified registered nurse anesthetist, to not be in the hospital on time for a surgery. In 3 911 calls, his co-workers asked for a well-being check, telling dispatchers that Amato had not missed a day of work in 5 years. It was even more unusual that Amato didn't pick up his phone when several people tried calling him. One co-worker knew Amato's brother Grant and knew he had been severely depressed recently. Okay, so let's listen to the calls. Now, hopefully these will come through well. My dog is... I'm going to check that you can hear them.
All right, and who are we checking on?
His name is Cody Amato. His last name is Amato.
Okay, and what was the reason for the well-being check?
He said that time we worked together, and he didn't show up for work today, and nobody can get a hold of him. His phone's going straight to voicemail, and he's not like that at all. He would never just not show up or not answer or not call. So no one's heard from him since about 10 p.m. last night, so we're all kind of worried.
All right, and I know you said that it's not like him to do this. Is there any other reason for concerns, like health conditions or anything like that?
Not from him. Like, I know his brother was at home, and I know his brother has been sick. So that was really my main concern, but I'm one of the only people that knows that. That's why I felt like I really needed to make this call. His brother does suffer from depression, and I know it's been that recently. But I'm not assuming the worst, but like, this is just very out of character.
Okay, that was the covered on the line with Micheline.
I called a couple hours ago to do a welfare check on a friend of mine. I hadn't heard back anything, but one of my other friends did, and I just wanted to follow up on the person. He heard that they went to our friend's house, and there was no answer at the door, and his brother's car was gone.
What's the address?
And they said they don't have... The address is 2112 Sultan Circle, Chileola, Florida.
Okay, yeah, we still have officers out there. Looks like they haven't made contact with anyone as of yet, but I'll have them give you a phone call back with the outcome.
Okay, I am concerned that something has come upon my friend. I know that his brother struggles with depression and I believe suicidal ideation as well. He has mentioned it to me, and I'm very worried.
Okay, yes ma'am. We still have officers out there. So as soon as they're done, they'll give you a phone call back. What is your name and phone number?
Sorry, excuse me. My name is...
They're taking her name out of here. That's why you hear a silence. It'll start up again.
And my phone number is... Oh, sorry.
Okay, you're one of the friends?
Yes.
Okay. I have them give you a phone call back when they clear the home, when they leave the home.
Sorry, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now this, I think I want to make sure you have the right year. This is January 25th, 2019, okay? So if you didn't hear, let's see what I think I have clearly in there. The coworker of Cody is calling, and some of the things she's saying is that's really my main concern. I'm not assuming the worst, but this is just very out of character. And after hours passed without any word about Cody, where he was, she called back again, this time in tears. And she said, I am concerned that something has come upon my friend. I know that his brother suffers from depression, and I believe suicidal ideation as well. She says that Cody mentioned it to her, and she's very worried. Now, shortly after 9 a.m., the Seminole County deputy went to their home, and they knocked on every door and window, called every phone, and sounded an air horn, and there was no response. Let me get another picture for you on the screen, though. Let me see here. I guess, can I go? Will it bring me back to... Let's go back to the house. Okay. So they actually used a knife to get into the house. And this is important because the defense says the way the officers entered the house didn't look like any type of forced entry. So it's one of the things that the defense brings up. So this is important. So they enter the house, and the deputy found Cody Amato's dad, Chad Amato, dead in the kitchen. Cody Amato was found dead in a storage room. His mother, Margaret Amato, was found in the home office. She had a glass of wine by her. She was seated in her desk and, slumped over. They had all been shot in the head. Now, Grant was gone. He lived at the house with Cody. There was an older brother who was not Chad's son, but he was adopted by Chad at the age of 3. But he did not live at home. Now, he claims that Chad, the father, the husband, could be abusive to him, and he left the house because that was one of the reasons he left the house. Yet, he does say that, all in all, Chad was a good guy and he did not deserve to be murdered. But Grant is gone. All right, so nobody knows where Grant is at this time. Grant had been on a downhill spiral, okay? He was very close with his brother Cody, extremely close. In fact, they were both nurses. They both were in anesthesia. And Grant had gotten into trouble, okay? He had been stealing drugs from the hospital that he worked at. So he had to have that disgrace of, having to leave his job, having to have this lawsuit over his head, and he went back to the house where he became very depressed. And when he became very depressed, he started to go online where he found a cam girl. Now, her name, he calls her Sylvia. Everyone else, and the way it's spelled, it's Sylvie. So I'm going to call her Sylvie. Sylvie was a cam model. He became very infatuated with her to the point of obsession. Okay? And in 6 months, he had spent over $250,000 for tokens for her. And what she does is she would model things. And let's see if I can make this bigger. And she's from Bulgaria. She's in Bulgaria. There is a little clip of where she goes on. Now, apparently there are times too that there's a chat room full of other men. And they all ask her to do certain things. And they all try to out-tip each other. And when the police seized Grant's computer, they found a letter, okay, which was about him apologizing to all of these men that he wasn't who he said he was. See, he made himself out to be a really wealthy gamer, okay, that had a lot of money, and he said drove a BMW. That wasn't the case. He was getting this money from his parents, from his brother. He sold a bunch of guns, which the defense will show records for in August and September in order to continue his relationship with Sylvie. His parents, at first, even his brother, kind of enabled him. They gave him money, and his brother even paid for him to go on this trip with him to Japan. Like I said, they were really close, and Cody would take care of things for Grant. When he was arrested at the DoubleTree by Hilton, okay, so I'm trying to think of how I can bring this to you. Okay, should we go back? I'm trying to think of, should we go to the rest and then go back? Okay, if you listen to Cody's story, after Cody got fired from the hospital for the medication he was stealing. Hold on one second. Then he went into this depression, right? And he found Sylvie. His parents started to get really upset, and they told him that he had to go to rehab. So they gave him a letter. Okay. When he was brought up on those charges from the hospital, he was released on bond, and he came home. That's when he started the webcam. He did go to Japan in December with his brother Cody. But then after that, January 9th, parents sat him down, said, you have to change things, okay? You have to follow these rules. They started to tell him, he was not going to have his car, he's not going to have his computer, they just laid down all these rules on him. He, meanwhile, on January 22nd, proclaims his love to Sylvie in a letter. And he says, despite the many things I have tried to currently emphasize to her, I care for her deeply and wish for an actual second chance with her and the room. Okay, that was his letter where he was saying, I think I have a copy of a piece of that. Let me see my pictures. Yes. Okay, everyone, I ask for your forgiveness regarding my stupidity. I will never be able to forgive myself for making Sylvie sad and for betraying her trust in me. Despite the many things that I have tried to currently emphasize to her, I care for her deeply and wish for an actual second chance with her in the room of all these other men that are outbidding each other. I think it is safe to say by now that everyone here knows that I made a drastic mistake with Sylvie. I upset her, made her very sad, and I ruined the end of December and the beginning of January for her. I won't go into great detail because that is not the purpose of this message, but I lied to her and you guys from the beginning about myself. I'm not a professional gamer, did not own my own house, and did not drive a BMW. The major one here was the gamer. I know that I at least told all of you guys that I was that, and while I did attempt to, and then, okay, it goes on, but that's the gist of it right there, right? So that was on the 22nd. On the 24th, he's at home, okay? He gets up in the morning and he sees his dad leave for work. His mother has an office in the house. She's there. He's on the couch most of the day watching YouTube, but he has an interview with Express Scripts the next morning. So he does spend some time getting together, his clothing for the interview and preparing a little bit for that in between watching YouTube on the couch. His father he eats lunch with his mother. His father gets home from work. And let me just get to hold on, I'm just getting my notes because I'm doing this from memory, so I just want to pull my notes up so I... Okay, so his dad comes home. He sees his dad go into his mother's office with his lunchbox. I don't know why that's important. And then Chad comes out, and he sits on the couch next to Grant, and he accuses him of having contact with Sylvie after they told him no contact. And he grabs him by his thin jacket. He tells him to get your things, you're out of here, So Grant goes upstairs. He starts packing some stuff, right? Chad keeps coming up. They start arguing. But then Grant says, okay, you're kicking me out. I need my laptop. I need my stuff and his passport and his keys and this stuff that his father keeps locked in this safe in this closet. So while Grant is in the room, the father opens the safe, and then it is said that he said, now I have to change the combination of the safe since you were in here when I opened this. He's going on it. He's taking the longest time to get out of the house. He said that he had to get stuff and flash drives that they took off his laptop to put certain programs on. He was downloading stuff on flash drives. He goes out to his car. He comes back in the house. He keeps doing this, right? His dad is out on the driveway, but Dad gives him a credit card for one night stay at a hotel. And then it said that Cody, this timeline is according to the defense. The prosecution says something, well, we're going to get into this because I'm jumping into the defense opening statements. They're saying this evidence is going to show you that Cody could have never committed these murders, okay? Because of this timeline, it doesn't go with what the defense says. And I just want to get you another picture in the meantime. Okay, that's the family when they were younger, and the mother is holding, that is Grant. The son in the front, right here is Jason, and then this is Cody. So they're in the driveway. Then about 12 or so, Cody comes home. Now, Cody wears a gun every single day, and so does his father. And he'll tell you why in a second. He says, Grant said that Cody gave him a debit card for any other expenses he might have and told him that he'd smooth things over with his father. Well, Cody apparently always does stuff like that because that's the kind of brother that he was. And he would pay for the trip like he did to Japan. And anytime there were problems in the house, Cody would try to smooth them over. He was 2 years older than Grant there, and so he kind of took care of him. So they're saying, oh, he's so close. This is his best friend. They did everything together. They went to nursing school together, did everything. And then he says his goodbyes. Grant says goodbye to everybody. He says goodbye to his mother. And he goes to a Publix parking lot. He fires up his laptop because he needs to use their internet. And, oh, I'm sorry about that thing. He gets the address for the interview that he's having tomorrow. He ends up spending the night in the Publix parking lot. And he does go to the interview first thing in the morning. Now, the woman that interviewed him is going, was a witness on the stand. And after that, he tries to go to Verizon because his cell phone is not working because the parents shut it off, right? But Verizon tells him, nope, you can't do it because your father's on the account. So he doesn't get his cell phone turned on. So he saw some news. He saw a news van going down his street. And he heard about some shootings. He had a bad feeling, but he couldn't call any of them, he said, because his cell phone wasn't working, right? And he said, well, I'll probably wait. I'm sure I'll get an email from Cody. He went past the house and made it just drove by and then turned around. By that time, the police tape was out in front of the house. And let me see if I can get you. That's Chad. I'm just going to try to put some photos on here while I'm talking so it's not so boring. Okay, so he ends up going to the hotel now, right? He checks into the Hilton. He doesn't think of using the landline at the Hilton to call anyone because he can't even remember the last time he used a landline. Like, that makes any sense at all. He talked to Sylvie on Twitter. Now, when they did this arrest, and I will try to get that uploaded as soon as I get all of my files, because they take him down without a fight, okay? He is so complacent. He doesn't even ask why he's being arrested, okay, which is beyond insane. They just come to the hotel. They evacuate everyone. The scene is crazy. They evacuate everyone from the floor, like anywhere near there, and then they just go in, and he just is like, no problem. They put the cuffs right on him. Now, there's some controversy whether they did something wrong, because really, why was he being arrested? And I'll go into more of that in another one. But they end up taking the cuffs off him. Okay, and he's just standing there. He's very complacent. He tells them that they can go search his bag. They can go search his room. But he really doesn't ask why he's being arrested. So then they say, okay, will you come down to the station, with us? And so he goes down there, and he's interviewed for 7 hours, okay? He is lied to, the defense says, repeatedly, with all of these provable false statements. He's told that they have this evidence, but they said Cody is crying when he finds out what's done, and he doesn't ever admit that he did anything. After 7 hours, they let him go because there's no physical evidence to link him. Now, when they did the testing, so just so you know, this is what the defense is saying in the opening statements, you're going to find him innocent because there is no DNA evidence on his mother's body, his brother's body, his father's body, that the gun residue on the gloves that were found in the hotel room, they're not consistent with residue for someone holding a gun, okay, but they're like transfer residue. And so they said, that is completely not consistent with if he was holding the gun and shooting them. Grant was taken for an evaluation by a neurologist, and he had an MRI of his brain. Defense hopes to poke holes in the prosecution's timeline because they say the victims were not killed the times that they said they were, because they claim that Chad and Cody were both using apps on their phone well after the time they were supposed to have been killed, and there were neighbors that reported hearing gunshots on the morning of the 25th. Okay, so they're saying it does not add up at all. And let's see here. Neighbors reported seeing Grant. Okay, that's the defense. And let's go to the prosecution. I'm sorry. So prosecution says, no, they've got it all wrong. This is premeditated, planned out, and he was motivated by his desire to be with Sylvie. Grant only cared about getting money to spend on his facade of a relationship with Sylvie. He needed to appear wealthy for her. They mentioned the letter again that I just showed you where he apologized and asked for forgiveness for acting like he was a rich gamer who drove a BMW. Grant was unable to function normally without Sylvie. On 125, which was when the defense says he's at this, he left for this interview from the Publix parking lot, blah, 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 blah. The neighbors report seeing Grant in his white Honda, placing him at the scene. Now, during the crime scene investigation, officers saw a white Honda drive up and make a U-turn. During the interview with police, Grant admits to seeing commotion around his home, but freaked out, didn't want to know why, and that's why he made the U-turn. Prosecution says there's loads of evidence. And post-incident actions, jail calls, emails about life insurance policies on the victims, about the case, and we're going to go through all of those that come out during the trial. His jail email password was from an anime series called Death Note. The character Light murders people. So they say it shows that he had a guilty conscience. And let's see what else. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so let me see if I haven't shown you. Let me show you some other pictures right now. These are all of the victims. So that's Chad, Margaret, and Cody. And that was from December of 2018 when Cody and Grant went to Japan, which Cody paid for, with a friend. So they were having a good time there. And let me get to, what else do I have to show you? Oh, another picture of Sylvie. And then we have some letters. Okay, that Sylvie wrote. I don't know if you can see this in there. It says, let me make sure you can see them. Okay. Merry Christmas. Grant, Christmas is a time for cherishing those who bring someone blessings to our lives. You are one of mine. May the lights of Christmas be your guide because you are my light. Believe in the magic of Christmas because you are my superhero. May your New Year be bright and happy, even more successful and filled with unforgettable moments. And I will be right here to share it with you. With love, Sylvia. Now she says Sylvia, and here it is Sylvie. I don't know. But those are things that they found when they were collecting the evidence. And let's see what else I have. Now his brother, Jason, came and saw him when he was being interviewed, and he told him you know, I'll pray for you, brother, because I don't have mom, dad, or Cody to pray for anymore. And he did, Jason did testify. So we will go through his testimony and, oh, what Grant said, okay, to try to explain away what he did. He said that this note was written by his brother Cody. Grant, I'll take care of all your problems. I just need you back. I can't live without you, brother. I said I'd take care of all your problems at the house, and I have. No one will bother you again regarding this. Just please come home. I can't do this again. If you, I don't know what that's supposed to, if you, it should be think, I'm part of the problem here, then I've really lost you, and I can't take that loss after everything. Okay, so he's claiming that Cody wrote him this note. I'll tell you. He claimed that his family was alive the last time he saw them. This is Grant. This is during his interview. The detectives told him Cody and Chad could not have shot each other. He tried to make it look like they shot each other. But there is something, oh, I forgot to tell you the big thing. Okay, how did I forget to tell you this? The defense told in the opening statement said that the jurors will see when the police answered this, wellness call, what they came into. Hold on, I've got to get my notes. Oh, for my notes. Was that I'm doing this. I don't just want to do this by memory. I want to make sure that I have. See, this I know in a premiere. See, I would cut this all out and I would give it to, so you have to just put up this because I want to make sure I have the exact facts here. They ran into a scene that was filled with guns. Now, okay, there were a lot of guns in the home. Lots of guns in the home. Cody, like I said, had sold all of his guns in August and September. But his father had many guns. They were locked up in the master bedroom closet in these safes with combinations. But there were also other things up there in that master bedroom, like a special armoire that was constructed for growing marijuana. So it was full of marijuana. Beyond that, in the closet of the master bedroom were 3 mason jars filled with marijuana and with moisture meters. Plus, there was other stashes of marijuana in the master bathroom. So what is going to be told here by the defense is that, wait a minute, these people were into drugs. They have guns all over the place. Why are you saying that this is, Grant that did this? And I am missing a big part of my notes. Hold on a second. I am missing a huge part of my notes here. Wait 1 second. Because the defense says there's not evidence. There's none of Grant's DNA on the shells, the shotgun shells. Cody's gun is in his holster. Let me get that. Interview. I think somebody somebody's fooling with me. Hold on. Oh, I found it. Okay, I was getting scared. Sorry about that. Okay, so he was sent to rehab. He left early January 9th, right? January 22nd, he proclaims his love, blah, 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 blah. And then defense says 4 shell casings that are found in the house. They were ejected from the gun near Cody, but the bullets that killed the victims were not fired from that gun. And there was no DNA on the things that were tested of Grant's, on Chad's belt, on his clothing. So they're saying, there's no way that Grant did this, and that it was probably someone over drugs, since that looks like where the family was getting all this money. Okay, that's what, I haven't listened to everything in the trial. Like I told you, I'm diving into it, but that's in the opening statements. And that he used the closet where the guns kept was locked. Oh yeah, that's another thing. When the police entered the home, I'm sorry, but this is being discombobulated. The closet where the guns kept was locked. Okay, so he didn't leave it open. Everything was locked. Everything was as it should be. They said that Grant had no training, okay, as a shooter, that he was incapable of committing these murders in such a short amount of time. Now, they said the police came upon a scene of guns, drugs, and this armoire that was outfitted to produce large amounts of marijuana. In the master bedroom closet, there were 3 mason jars of weed with temperature gauges, and additional marijuana was found in the master bath. The Glock pistol was found on Chad. And Cody's gun was found on his body. They said additional evidence will show during this trial that the timeline that the state shows could not be possible because Chad used his fingerprint to access his phone after the time of death that the prosecution says, and Chad deleted an app to blink later, which was at 12:31 a.m. on 1/25/19, well after he was supposed to have been killed. So Grant sold all of his firearms to Florida Gun Exchange and Florida Gun and Pawn. They have all of the receipts for that. The shell casings tested for Grant's DNA. It was not found. So they said it can't be linked to Grant. No DNA of Grant on the holster on Chad, his belt, or anything like that. So they said that there's not enough evidence. There's no evidence to link Grant. Oh, there's no cleanup of the crime scene. The crime scene was a mess. There's no evidence of trying to clean it up. There's no bloody footprints, that they're saying. So they're saying the evidence shows that his scrubs, his shoes, they had no DNA on them from any of the victims. And there was only a low particle count transfer on the gloves, and it was not consistent with someone that would have been holding a gun and committing these murders. Okay, so in the interview, Cody says his family was alive the last time he saw them. The detectives told him Cody and Chad Amato could not have shot each other. They asked who else could have killed his family. I don't know, Grant said. I've been getting blamed for the last half a year for everything, and I've been trying to move forward into a positive direction. And then every day I'm reminded of all the trouble that I had caused. And then I keep being told the same thing over and over again. There's nothing I can do to change it. In the interview room the same day, Grant spoke briefly with the sole surviving brother, Jason, and he again denied killing his family. His brother Jason at the end said, I'm going to pray for you, brother, before walking out of the door, because I can't pray for Mom, Dad, or Cody anymore. Grant told investigators that he and Cody were inseparable. They joined the same Timber Creek High School weightlifting team together. They decided to go to nursing school and eventually to become nurse anesthetists. Just like one another, the brothers planned on buying matching BMWs and living in their parents' home after Chad and Margaret Amato moved to a retirement home they bought in Tennessee. He'd take care of everything for me, Amato said. But stress in the family started to build in June of 2018 because Grant had failed out of an anesthesiology school. He was suspended from his nursing job at Advent Health, Orlando, and he was arrested after he was accused of stealing and improperly administering medication to a patient. So now jobless, that's what I told you, he began spending lots of time online, right? So he's telling them all this. He spent 4 hours every night watching Sylvie dance and model. He purchased 5,000 tokens at a time for $600, and he explained that her shows cost 90 tokens per minute to view. Eventually, he began sending her clothes and sex toys, which she would model for viewers, these men in this chat room, okay? Spending that amount of money is idiotic, he said during the interviews with detectives, especially when you're not making it. By the beginning of December, his situation seemed to be improving. The grand theft charge stemming from the hospital incident had been dropped, and he and Cody and a friend took a long-planned trip to Japan that Cody paid for. But after one argument with his father on December 19th, Grant walked out of the house. His family reported him missing, telling deputies he had been experiencing strong feelings of worthlessness. His mom said she got a text from Grant saying he was really tired of everything and just going to handle it his own way. Grant had gone to the Apopka home of his aunt, Donna Amato, who described Grant as skinny and lost-looking, saying he slept during the day and stayed up all night. I think Gail might know him. She started noticing strange changes in her bank account and thought she had been hacked, but she later discovered that Grant had stolen her credit card information. Pictures of credit cards belonging to Grant Amato's grandmother, his uncle Troy, and one of his cousins were found on his computer after the killings. Donna Amato said she received calls from the rest of the family who urged her not to press charges against Cody and promised to pay back any of the fraudulent expenses. Chad, Grant's father, broke down during his phone call with his sister-in-law for the first time, Donna Amato said, and it's the first time she heard him cry in 27 years that she knew him. He said he would personally take care of $150,000 worth of debt by remortgaging his house. He told me on the phone, yeah, I'm going to have to work a few more years than I thought I'd have to. But it's okay. I'll do it for Grant. I don't want him to go to jail. Amato's family took shifts outside of Donna Amato's home to prevent Grant from escaping. Early on December 22nd, they surprised him in her driveway and drove him to a voluntary rehabilitation clinic in South Florida. After he returned January 5th, now he was also treated for sex addiction, okay? Amato's father sat him down at the California Pizza Kitchen in Waterford Lakes and presented him with a list of handwritten rules if he wanted to remain in the home. By this point, Grant's brother Cody had paid $8,000 for Amato's attorney, $10,000 for the trip to Japan, and had committed to paying for Grant's $15,000 rehab stay. Chad had let a fraudulent line of credit filed by Grant go through so it wouldn't be reported. Among the rules he had to follow was to get a job during the day, stop spending the entire night online, his phone service would be terminated, and he would need to go to therapy. His family would no longer pay for his debts. This is critical as Grant, through his past transgressions, had relied on the knowledge that the family would not report him and would cover him. A note written on the sheet of rules said, "Family relationship abuse beyond tolerance. This is a promise. You better heed the warning. It's real." If Grant reached out to Sylvie again, he would be kicked out of the house. The second to last line had been scratched out. It said, "You choose a stranger, physically non-existent, over family." During the ultimatum, Grant continued speaking with Sylvie. He told detectives using his mother's phone with her permission to message her on Twitter. Chad found out about it on January 24th. This is when he's coming home from the office, okay, the defense says. He claimed his father grabbed him by the shirt. They say light jacket. They told him to pack his stuff up and leave. Initially, he told the detectives it took a few hours for him to pack up his things. He claimed that he left around 9:30 p.m. See, but now the defense says he left later than that. And met Cody outside the neighborhood to tell him what had happened. Amato later admitted he'd lied. He left closer to midnight, and his brother was home. He claimed he spent the night in the parking lot of a nearby Publix before driving to his job interview off Lee Vista Road. In Grant's car, a crime scene analyst found this handwritten note that you see right here, and it appeared to have been written from Cody Amato's perspective. Grant admitted to a detective that he had written the letter, saying he was jotting down his recollection of the last conversation he had with his brother. He couldn't explain why it was written in the first person from Cody's point of view. Grant's relatives told detectives they couldn't understand why he would have killed his brother. Cody would have spent his last dollar to save him, his aunt told investigators. However, authorities have suggested that Grant sought to implicate his brother in the killings, something Sheriff spokesman Bob Keeling called a reasonable assumption. Two of Amato's friends also accused him of lying during a recent hearing in order to shift the focus from himself onto Cody. Their grandmother, Gloria, laid out her opinion bluntly. That kid did it. She said, Grant killed them. Get rid of these people. I will be free. Margaret Amato's death has left a void in her horse family. One friend, Jackie Seraphin, said she rode by the Amato house a few weeks after the killing. She looked into the windows of the office where Margaret was found and waved goodbye one last time. She had a strong sense of righteousness for those who couldn't do anything for themselves, said Jewel Tybin, Amato's neighbor. When a good person leaves the earth too soon, you just have to question why. The world needs more good people. Sherry Brabenak. I just want to put up another picture here. Okay. Oops, that's... All right, I'll leave that on. Sherry Brabenak, the owner of the Miracle Lane stables where Margaret spent so much time, has a plaque that was made in her honor. To our barn sister Margaret and her lady, that was the horse. Thank you for the love and friendship. We will ride with you in our hearts forever. She will always be with us out here, Brabenek said. She's part of our barn and always will be. Okay, so hang on. That's where I'm going to leave it for today. Now I think we're pretty well set to start going into the trial and the other discovery as it comes in. I am going to leave it like that, and then I'll open up another live just so that this is concise, because that's people want to just hear the case. All right. So my chat isn't even hooked up there. Okay. So well, some of Carol, a lot of it is too by memory. Some of it's my notes. It's like all different places. I got to find it all. And usually in a premiere, I kind of get it so it's not so stumbly. So I'm sorry for that, but I hope that that'll do until my kids go back, and then I have time during the day. But right now, my time is spent with them. Okay, so I'm going to close this one so we keep it on this case. I'll open another one where we can discuss any questions that you guys have. All right. All right. Thank you to our mods. Thank you to all of you for coming in here, and I will end this now, and I'll open up a new one.